Got it. Sweet.
Got it.
All right. So I'm here with Christian McAlhaney.
Yep,
right?
that's
McAlhaney.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
From Anberlin, from Acceptance, from Loose Talk.
Yes, sir.
So, dude, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, pleasure.
Glad it worked out.
Yeah, for sure. I'm an actual fan. So, like, having you on, like, it's just, like, I got goosebumps on me right now.
That's
so,
awesome. I appreciate
super
it.
thankful to have you on the show. We were talking before how you're from Tampa. I was just curious, how vegan friendly would you say, like, Tampa is? Or you're from, like, the surrounding area?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm originally from Seattle. I've been living in Tampa Bay for about 8 years now. I mean, comparatively, I'm from the West Coast, so we're pretty, like, I moved here from California. So
Right.
comparatively, I wouldn't say it's as progressive as a California or even a Washington State,
Right.
obviously Seattle. But there are a lot of great vegan options in the Tampa Bay area and St. Pete. I mean, I never want for anything. So I usually cook at home, but if I want to go out with my wife,
For sure.
there's plenty of places to go. And even if it's not necessarily a vegan, branded restaurant, you can get most places you can survive. You know what I mean?
That's the beauty of this time now. It's like more restaurants that are not vegan are actually having vegan options, which I think is even more amazing.
Yep.
So yeah, I want to ask you straight off the bat. I mean, I've heard stuff online and sometimes they're not true or
Right.
whatever. Are you vegan or vegetarian?
So my story is I went vegan when I was like probably about 15.
Wow.
Because I was really into like the hardcore scene.
Sure.
And like back then in like the early mid 90s, vegan straight edge was like a big deal. And like
Totally.
I was really influenced by that. So I went vegan, but my parents were a little concerned about that. So they took me to a doctor and he was like, look, son, he's like, you're young, you're still growing. He's like, if you're doing this wrong, you're going to hurt yourself. So he's like, go vegetarian. That's fine. When you get older, if you want to go vegan, do that. You know what I mean? Because at the time, to me, so I was vegetarian basically, but a vegetarian to me in high school was like white rice with like soy sauce and like a bagel. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just like a
super
like
simple.
no nutrition, but like no nutrition.
I got
all
you.
carbs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I didn't really start eating I was a vegetarian that didn't like vegetables. You know what I mean? Like, when you're that young, you don't really know what you're doing. So, but I've been a vegan on and off. So
Right.
I tell people I'm vegan-ish. Like for recent, like when I cook at home, it's always vegan. Sometimes you're out and it's like there's not really a lot of things available. So my motto is perfect is the enemy of good. So
Yes.
as long as I'm trying my best. Like my wife and I went to Italy with my family for 10 days. We're in the middle of nowhere, like countryside. Like if we were in Rome, probably be easy. But over there, it's like they probably wouldn't even know what I was talking about. You know what I mean? If I'm like, hey, is there any animal products in this? They'd be like, absolutely there is. You know? Like, so between that and starving, I'm gonna probably have some butter. You know what I mean? Like
I hear you,
in those
man.
instances.
Yeah, and you guys toured the world as Anberlin. I'm talking about. You guys like toured the world, and that was one of my questions. Like, how was eating plant-based? Like going to so many countries versus like eating at home, like you said, you were cooking vegan.
It's difficult. I mean, depending on where you are. You know, I mean, if you're in the Philippines, like every dish, even when they would tell them that I was vegetarian, it would be, whatever, some like bok choy, but even the sauce it would be in would be a beef broth. And
or like fish sauce or something.
Yeah, they didn't really fully understand. Like, no. I don't want any meat, like at all. I don't want to touch any meat. I don't like. There'd be like bits of like, no, it's a vegetable. I'm like, yeah, but it's covered in like bits of beef.
Yeah, the pizza the perfect.
Depending on where you are, like a lot of Asian countries were difficult, but even so, like if you're in Japan, I can go to Subway and get a vegetable sandwich.
Yeah, especially these days, like Beyond Meat's like everywhere.
Now, yeah.
So it's like ridiculous, the options.
Yeah.
What are some of the benefits you have noticed though from, like, you've been doing this for a while, since 15, like, so what are some of the health benefits you've noticed since then?
It's hard because it's been, most of my life I haven't eaten meat, so it's hard to kind of differentiate. I don't even remember when I ate meat. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me to say what a major health
And you were
change
so young,
been.
you probably didn't have health problems back then either.
No, but I don't know. We eat a very plant-heavy, vegetable-heavy diet, and I feel good all the time.
Yeah.
I can tell the difference of when I eat a heavy meal and between when I eat a very clean, homemade, or even a vegan, raw vegan meal if we go out or whatever. Like you can obviously, that's what's wild to me is like physically you can really feel a difference when you're eating a cleaner diet.
Definitely.
So, my wife is on and off. I mean, depending on what's going on in her own life.
Right.
But yeah, I've been big influence on that. And
that's
we
right on, man.
We're vegans most of the time, vegetarian sometimes.
Yeah. I got you. Do you guys do like mostly whole foods? It sounds like natural, like whole type of foods.
Usually a vegetable. Cooking at home would be, raw veggies that we either cook them or bake them or whatever we want to do. Raw salads, sometimes mock meats, a lot of times seitans, tofus, tempehs. A lot of, like you were saying, it's been interesting for me going vegetarian so young. Back then, you really only had like Boca burgers that tasted like cardboard back then. You know what I mean? Right. And there was maybe you could find some random, maybe 1 or 2 vegan restaurants and some like Asian, that were like vegan restaurants, but it wasn't like as commonplace as it is today. So it's been nice because now you can go out and I never want for anything. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really feel like I've ever like, cheating myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like difficult to eat this way. Like if anything, it's like, I really enjoy it.
Like a lot of people say it's a sacrifice to give up meat, but I mean, yeah, you're giving up meat, but you're eating a whole lot of other stuff too, like the veggies that you probably wouldn't eat before.
I think your palate changes over time. So that's been for myself. Like as I got older and started realizing that my diet was crap, like even though I was vegetarian, like burritos and like drinking a 2 liter of soda, just, like that's not a great lifestyle. So once I started like cleaning up and eating a lot more like fresh vegetables and that kind of thing, I just started noticing a difference, feeling better. Right. And like that's what I crave. Like I don't like your palate changes over time, I guess is my point.
It definitely does. And I noticed it with myself, and I've heard a lot of people say that. Did you initially do it for health reasons back when you were 15, or did you do it for ethical?
So I did it because it was trendy. In
the rock scene.
The straight edge hardcore. That was kind of why I initially did it. But then while I was in high school, I was in a class and we were doing debates basically, and I got to choose a topic. I chose to argue against animals for food, and someone else chose to argue for animals for food. Oh, wow. And so that was my first time actually researching it. Yeah. And I spent a lot of time. And for me, it was environmental, ethical for treatment of animals and health as well. So and literally it was hilarious because I totally crushed the dude that I was debating against. You can't really make an argument for other than like, I like the way it tastes. You know what
That's
I mean?
it.
I mean, some people can, you've got the people that argue paleo diets, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But when you're arguing against a plant-based diet, there's not really an argument like this is a better way for you to live, So really, that was really the only argument against my argument was, well, I like the way it tastes, So, so after researching it, it's like those things still ring true to me today, It's ethical. When I went vegan here recently, because like I said, I've been on and off.
Sure.
I watched Earthlings. It's a vegan documentary. It's narrated by Joaquin Phoenix, and I just that pushed me over the edge. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna. And at the time, I wasn't really a milk drinker. I would eat eggs, some cheese here and there, but that was the time where I was like, okay, I'm done. For now, I was totally affected by that movie. I'm just like, oh man, I can't be a part of it.
Like once you see it, dude, how can you unsee it, right? Yeah.
How do you justify it?
Yes, yeah.
I'm just like, well, that's just what I want. What's weird to me, or what's confusing to me, is as in a society, it's like, we have certain animals that we treasure and hold so dear. My dogs, my cats. It's like, but it's like, how do you justify? Well, these ones are domesticated and we love them, but these ones are for food. Like, would you not say? You look at the feast in China where they kill dogs. People are in an uproar about that, but you'll have no problem killing young cows or pigs, which are actually more intelligent than dogs. Yes. And it's like it's confusing to me. So
it's hypocritical for sure. Yeah. I think most of us have sympathy for a reason. I think it's there for a reason, in the way that you feel it when you watch these terrible videos of what happens in slaughterhouses. I think that's a sign. If not that, then your health at least, or for the environment. But going back to the rock scene, like you said, which first got you into all of this stuff, have you noticed more people going vegan in the music scene? Any bands you can remember, or even any bands?
I know a lot of vegans for sure. It's like but it's always been prevalent in the music scene. Like I said, that's what influenced me was the hardcore scene. And I think it always comes from a very progressive place of, and artists are generally pretty progressive. So in a very, art-centered world, you're going to have a lot of vegans. So
for sure.
In the music scene, for sure. the other guitar player from Anberlin, Joey, he was vegan for a while.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I know tons of different band guys that are vegan, that have been vegan or have turned vegan, or just lifestyle changes. I'm an advocate for it.
Obviously, talking about your guys' music, you guys are very faith-based. A bunch of you are Christians, am I correct?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to read you a verse from the Bible. It's Genesis 1:29. Maybe you're familiar with. It says, "And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which the fruit of the tree yielding seed. To you it shall be meat." And there's, that's one example, but there's a bunch, like biblically. The question is, do you think like veganism and Christianity, is there a connection? What is your opinion?
Yeah, I think, there's another part of the Bible, basically, I think it's in Genesis, where it's basically saying, you're supposed to be stewards of this, of what I've given you. And when you look at what's happening on the planet, can you really make the argument, is this the best? When you look at animals for food, is this the way we should be treating them? These are living beings that God has also created. Can you in your heart say that, yeah, well, that's just, the ends justify the means. You know what I mean? It's like, if someone I'm not an advocate for this, but if someone goes fishing and catches a fish and eats that fish, it's like, that's not what I'm going to do, but I don't really have a problem with that.
Yeah,
if someone goes and hunts for their food and kills something in the wild, it's like, but to treat an animal like it's just a piece of machinery is very strange and counter to, I think, what, it says a lot of times in the Bible. So,
and there's like, thou shalt not kill, and like, what's, where do you draw the line? And to me, like, these are living beings, and Christianity or most religions, it's to serve others, right? To stand up for others. And at least my personal belief is, you should protect those that are vulnerable.
I just think in this day and age, it's not necessary. You know what I mean? Maybe before we were able to have the kind of variety that we have and the options and the technology to create the kind of mock meats that we have, or, and some people might say, well, those are all very processed foods. But when you really actually look at the ingredients, it's like, no, these are all natural foods just put together into something that's very delicious and edible.
Yeah.
But in this day and age, it's hard for me to say. Really, the only argument you can make is that I just like it. You know what I mean? And that's just, as a society, that we've just accepted that that's just what we do. You're raised eating meat instead of just like, well, and ever really thinking about it. Most people would never watch. I was an advocate. I posted about Earthlings, and I was like, you ever really want to, like, you ever thought about going vegan and watch this thing? Most people don't want to watch it. They don't, like, I don't want to know about that. And it's like, well, you don't feel a little bit like nutty about that? Like, oh, well, I'm fine with just eating it, but don't show me how it's made. It's just like, that's nuts to me.
It should almost be like a training video. Like, like, you want to eat meat, that's your decision, but at least like watch it. Like, at least know like what you're contributing to. And if that's a choice you want to make, that's on you, you know, 100%. Have you seen the Game Changers, by the way? Oh man, so good. Like, I highly recommend watching that. Anyone listening, check out the Game Changers.
What is that?
So it's a documentary that was just released, and it goes into more of the fitness side, which I think is really cool.
I've seen that. It's on Netflix, right?
Yeah, it's on Netflix, and I think that
I haven't watched it yet. I've seen the little.
Yeah, the title. Dude, it's unbelievable. I mean, like, you have Olympic level athletes doing this stuff. I mean, you've debunked like all the health stuff, like the environmental, the animal stuff. Now you got athletes doing it. I mean, it's like, the argument for veganism is so strong. And that's another good one, man. But anyhow, let's talk a little bit about your music. Can you tell me, like, what's your story? Like, how did you get into all this?
In middle school, I had some friends that, in middle school, I think is kind of when people are transitioning into really like deciding and like defining themselves a little more. Obviously, as you get, you're always evolving.
Yeah,
you're always
definitely.
evolving. I'm still evolving, but
Definitely.
That's the kind of time I think where you start really becoming on your own and defining who you are and what you like and what you don't like. So that was, for me, I started getting into, I think before that, I didn't really, listen to whatever my parents listened to. Because we're talking about you're a grade schooler, so can't really say you're musically savvy. But I started getting more into music, like alternative, grunge. Obviously, I'm from Seattle, so that was a big deal. Metal, and a good buddy of mine had moved from California, had long hair, was a big Metallica fan, got me listening to Metallica. He started a band in middle school, and I saw them play, and I was like, that's so cool. And so I wanted to start playing guitar. I think I played trumpet at the time, and I'd taken piano lessons. And my parents got me a guitar, and I just started playing. And that just that set my foot on the path. I wanted to play Metallica songs. And then later in high school, formed a band, which was kind of like more of a new school punk band of what was going on back then. Mm-hmm. Your Pennywise and NoFX and Strung Out, all that kind of stuff. So me and my friends, we were all like into skateboarding and the new school punk scene, as well as everything. I was into everything, but that was the band we formed then. And then into college, just kept playing, and then joined Acceptance and just kept,
went
evolving.
From there. Yeah. How about Anberlin? How'd you get connected with those guys?
So Acceptance broke up 2005, and then I moved to LA, where our manager lived. He was basically just like, hey, keep playing music. He's like, you can come down here and live with me for free. He's like, this is a much better, if you want to keep playing music, LA is a better place to be. So the drummer from Acceptance and I moved to his house. We shared a room, and like we had bunk beds. And we're trying to start a new band down there, but we were also hiring ourselves out as like songwriters and just like touring musicians. And then started working with an artist that had just been on a TV show. It was called Rockstar Supernova. It was with like Tommy Lee, Dave Navarro, Jason Newsted from Metallica. It was basically like a rock and roll American Idol. So they were auditioning a singer for a band they were starting.
Right.
I moved down to LA right when that ended, and all those people, the contestants that didn't win, were looking, they'd just been on TV in front of millions of people. So they were looking for songs. So I started working with a girl. Her name was Delana, who I think got second place, and ended up doing some tours with her, writing some songs for her. And I was on a tour with Delana when Anberlin called me because they had kicked out a guitar player. They had just finished recording Cities and were about to go on tour for Cities. And they were looking for a touring guitar player. So they called me, and I was on a tour. And so I said, hey, let me pray about it. Let me think about it for a couple of days, because I'm already committed. And called them back in a couple of days and said, and talked to my, Nick from Acceptance back in LA. I said, hey, Anberlin called me to fill in for a tour. I think I should do it,
Right.
But I was trying to start a band, but I was also touring with Delana. So I was just, getting pulled. And so I decided to tour with Anberlin, did the Cities tour. A few weeks into that tour, we had just like meshed really well, the band and I. And so they were like, yo, do you just want to be in the band? And I was in heaven at that point, we really got along. It just really felt right.
Yeah.
So from then, I was in there until the end of 2014, when we decided to kind of pull the plug there for about 5 years. And then Deon and I started Loose Talk, keep the dream alive. And now here we are 5 years later, and Anberlin's back doing the thing. So
I love it, man.
Just keep one foot in front of the other, I guess. So.
Right on. Yeah, totally. And, just talking about Anberlin, like you guys' lyrics, they're heavy, man. There's something there. It hits a lot of strings. And I want to ask you a question. What do you think the connection between music and mental health is? Or maybe you can talk about some of the experience that you guys have heard from fans coming up and sharing how your guys' music has affected their lives.
I mean, I don't even have to speak from that. I can speak from as a music fan, and having music and certain songs help me, everyone can relate to that. Like music is the soundtrack of your life, and it can help you or it can be, you have songs that you associate with the best times in your life, or the songs that have helped you get through the really hard times, or the songs that you associate with heartbreak. You know what I mean? There's certain songs that can take you right back to at a specific moment in your life, that I can relate to that, and it's always been very humbling and just kind of like very gratifying to have other people share that with me, and to have that kind of like sense of like, oh my God, I've been that for someone else. That what another artist has been for me, that's just like been so kind of mind blowing sometimes. It's just like, your songs have helped me through suicide or whatever, the loss of a loved one or whatever, or like we got married to your song Inevitable. Like that stuff is crazy, how many weddings have I been to, or even my own wedding, the important songs that we chose, my wife and I chose for our wedding, for someone to be like, you were our song. That's like, that's very humbling. It's a beautiful thing. So
I love that. I love, and you'll listen to a song and it'll take you back to a certain moment in your life. And that alone, is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. I want to talk to you about a documentary you were involved in, Who Killed or Saved the Music Industry. It was created by our mutual friend, Adam Russell, from Story of the Year. It's about how anyone who's listening, how the music industry is essentially changing. And you guys, you started what, early 2000s? Yeah. So I want to ask you, what are some ways you've seen the music industry change, and where do you see it going, if I may ask?
Oh yeah, that's a great question, because I've kind of been right in the main transition of what it used to be to what it is becoming, because right when acceptance started, becoming a little more prominent or getting signed was right when the transition from into, your Napsters and the internet and being able to stream music or download music. So that was the initial shift. My entire career has been around that shift in the music industry. Right. And even now, trying to start over with Loose Talk, it has been wild, because I know how we started a band when I was, 22. There was a completely different scene, and just how you went about being a band. Now starting over at almost 40, you just kind of look at, like, I'm now trying to learn, okay, well, how do I navigate this new music business? Like, how do I, to me, it's like, what you used to do is just record songs, play local shows, start playing around a state, maybe going there. But it's like, there's not really a scene, and like just a homegrown scene like there was. Like when I was younger, I would go to the all ages venue regardless of who was playing every weekend. That's just what I did. That's where my friends were going. We would just go to the show. Sometimes I wouldn't even know who was playing. We would just go to hang out and like watch some music. That doesn't really exist in the same capacity. And that's neither here nor there. I'm not making a judgment call on that, but it's just like the documentary and the point they were trying to make, it was valid, but it was also kind of like rallying against it, I think, at the time. You just got to adapt. I mean, no one can, from the inception of the music industry, it worked a certain way. You know what I mean? Like if you wanted to buy or listen to an artist, you had to pay for it. If you wanted to listen to a song, you had to buy a record or you had to buy a single. Sure. The internet kind of like changed that whole game to where you could just download it if you wanted. And even now, the streaming services are better because people can pay, but you're only getting fractions of cents. So it has been hard. That was what was hard for Anberlin. That's kind of what led us to, the point of us breaking up was that, like, most bands, the way your bread and butter, the way that you make a living and can support your family in this day and age. Before, it used to be you could sell records and you could tour this much, and that combination could allow you to have a job. Once you stopped selling records, that meant you had to be on the road a lot longer to make up for that lost money. So now, but when you're gone and now you're older and you have kids and you have a family, so it's like people are like, wait, in order to support my family, I now have to be away from my family all the time. And Steven wrote a song about it. It was Atonement. It's such a beauty. He says it so beautifully in that song. But that's just kind of like a lot of bands reach that point now. I'm just like, okay, I'm making a living, but I'm also on the road 10 months out of the year. So it's still changing. I don't have a grasp on it. I'm trying to learn now. I'm actually taking like online music marketing courses right now.
That's awesome.
For my own, just to like wrap my head around like advertising and Facebook and Instagram, all that kind of stuff. Totally. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to be a little more savvy, especially because Loose Talk is completely DIY right now. It's just Deon and I. We do everything. We record it ourselves. I send it to my buddy. He mixes it, all the artwork, everything we do ourselves. So, if you're going to do that, then you need to kind of learn all the aspects of the music. So
it's almost like starting from scratch, I'm sure, just like hustling, like learning, new skills. And
Well, I mean, not that we were spoiled, but we just had, for so long in Anberlin, we had people intermediaries, people that did that for us. My job in Anberlin was writing songs and touring, luckily, I had that luxury of I could just focus on my art and focus on being on the road, and everyone else did the business stuff, managers, booking agents, all your teams that you would, everyone at your label, your marketing department, everything, advertising, people that were doing all that stuff. Now it's like when you are starting over, you don't have that. So it's been kind of a learning. It's been embarrassing, even sometimes talking, like we were working with a local distribution company here in Tampa called Symphonic Distribution. They're a little more hands-on than your typical digital distribution company. But on some phone calls, sometimes they'll ask me a question and I'm like, forgive me, it sounds hilarious because I've been in the industry for 20 years, but I don't know what you're talking about. Can you explain that to me? But I was like, because I had other people doing that. I didn't need to do that. I didn't need to know that.
Right.
All I needed to know was, when does the record need to be done and when are we going on tour?
Right.
You know, so
Definitely.
it's been frustrating, but it's also been exciting at the same time, because you eat what you kill. So, you know, you become a savvy hunter then, you know?
Yeah. So I think that's great advice for any struggling artist is just to keep learning, just to keep moving. And like you said, I mean, maybe the platform changes or maybe, you know, your position in the band or whatever creative you're doing changes and you have to take over a few more spots.
Regardless of what industry or whatever it is in your life, you evolve or die sometimes. You can't just like hold on to the way things were, the way things used to be done. Right. You know, you got to adapt or die, you know, and sometimes people just complain about it. You know what I mean? Like,
can't do that,
trust me, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. When I think about like if Anberlin or Acceptance would have come out 5 years, 10 years before, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Yeah. You know what I mean? And we would have sold tons of records. You know, I would have made, you know, people look at me, they go, oh my God, you're in Anberlin. I heard you on the radio. You must be so wealthy. And it's like, that's not the case. Yeah, that is not the case. But it's not even about money, but even it's that impression that I don't care. I don't care whether I have a lot of money or not. It's when people just assume, I'm like, no, you were so mistaken, because it's not what it was. You know, maybe if it was in the 90s, yes, maybe you could say, yeah, they sold millions of records, but.
The thing is, you should be paid though for your time, because you're there. You're reporting to work. You're spending your time, and I can relate to this with my my small YouTube channel. I'm I have 75,000 subs or somewhere around that area, and it's a misconception. People think that it's that translates to money, or I'll get like in this like little bubble where like I'm like, oh man, that last video didn't get enough views, but then. What's the other option? Quitting? Right. Like that's even worse. That'll cause me to go into depression, and I'm sure you feel that same way.
Well, what you're saying though is that without the struggle, the reward isn't the same. You know what I mean? Like, because even I think about like I played last night. So we played here. This show was sold out. Loose Talk played down the street. There was maybe I think 80 people paid. And you know how humbling that is? Like the last actual live concert I played was in front of 2,000 people in Orlando. Right. You know what I mean? But it's like they're not the same. Anberlin, Loose Talk's not Anberlin. Like the sum is only equal to the whole is equal to the sum of its parts. Right. Like to expect Loose Talk, but I know that I have to build and I have to grind. And like when Loose Talk does have that success, I can say we friggin' fought for that. You know, it wasn't just like Anberlin ended, and then like because we were in Anberlin, like Loose Talk just took off. I don't know that I would appreciate it the same way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You gotta, you start over. It's something fresh, something new, and I really dig Loose Talks actually. Dude, where can people find your music? Like Anberlin, Acceptance, Loose Talk.
Any way that you digest music, you can find all of my artists. You can buy them, stream them. We're everywhere. So. And all streaming sites, all places to buy music, record stores, generally, go there. And
seriously, check these guys out and support them. Go on their website, buy the music. It keeps people like Christian, Steven, and all the other members going, and every dollar that you put down is a vote for the artist you believe in. So, dude, thank you so much, man. And it's been a pleasure. Let's do this again sometime.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming out.
Sick. Dude. Hey, man. Nice. Thank you.